President Trump is instructing the Justice Department to open an investigation into Democrats he claims are linked to sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Newly filed subpoenas from Epstein's estate indicate that he continued offering his political and financial connections to influential figures even after his conviction on sex trafficking charges. Some of Epstein's emails also mention President Trump directly. The president has rejected any accusations of misconduct and says he had no knowledge of Epstein's criminal activities. He now argues that questions about his relationship with Epstein are nothing more than a scam, with all arrows pointing to the Democrats, insisting he cut ties with Epstein after the latter's 2019 arrest. At the same time, an increasing number of bipartisan lawmakers are urging the Justice Department to disclose more of its Epstein records. ABC's Washington Bureau Managing Editor Catherine Furze and White House Correspondent Karen Travers have additional details on this developing story. So Karen, what's the latest regarding President Trump's push to investigate Democrats he says are connected to Epstein? Earlier this morning, Trump posted on social media that he is directing Attorney General Pam Bondi, the Justice Department, and the FBI to investigate a list of individuals, naming Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, JPMorgan, and others, to determine their ties to Epstein. He claims the scrutiny on him is simply another hoax, comparing it to the Russia probe during his first term. Trump insists all arrows point to the Democrats, attempting to shift focus away from the recent release of messages referencing him and from any association he had with Epstein. He further argues that Democrats have driven this week's release of emails and calls for full transparency surrounding the Epstein files as a political distraction, claiming it's meant to divert attention from the government shutdown and their failure to secure their healthcare demands during the standoff. Trump is again pressing the Justice Department to launch an inquiry, something he has done before, though it remains unclear how the department will respond. Catherine, what do these files say about President Trump and which Democrats are actually mentioned? At this point, it's difficult to answer that definitively. Trump's claims seem to be a reaction to the House Oversight Committee's publication of documents from Epstein's estate. Yet he is asking the DOJ and the FBI to investigate, while they themselves are withholding a large collection of documents that remain unreleased. So what exactly would this investigation focus on? We know Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche questioned Ghislaine Maxwell in Florida a few months ago, around July, about several Democrats. Maxwell reportedly didn't recall specifics on some of the individuals Blanche brought up, so the purpose and scope of what Trump wants the DOJ to investigate is unclear, beyond the names he listed in his post: Reid Hoffman, Bill Clinton, Larry Summers. Blanche had questioned Maxwell about Clinton and Hoffman earlier. Ultimately, it seems Trump wants the focus redirected away from his own appearance in the files, regardless of whether he faces legal exposure, and instead shifted toward prominent Democrats. And Karen, why is President Trump criticizing Republicans who say they'll vote to force the DOJ to release the Epstein files? It started with 4 Republicans who supported the discharge petition this week, and there was significant pressure to get them to reverse their positions. That effort failed, and next week the House is expected to vote to require the DOJ to release the Epstein documents. It appears that dozens of Republicans, possibly 40 to 50, may end up supporting it. Trump is already blasting Republicans backing the measure, calling them weak and claiming they've fallen under Democratic influence because they are soft and foolish. The major unknown is what happens after the vote. Even if it passes the House, the Senate's response is far less certain. And if it were to clear both chambers, it's unlikely President Trump would sign it. Catherine, what are you watching now? The key issue is exactly what Karen mentioned, the legislative process. If the bill passes the House and then the Senate, it would land on Trump's desk. Would he sign it? Almost certainly not. And the political implications would be significant. If both Republican-led chambers approve the measure and Trump still refuses to sign, he will have to justify why. It also raises questions about why the White House has been so eager behind the scenes to remove names, such as Lauren Boebert's, from the discharge petition, even though she ultimately did not withdraw. If transparency is not a problem, why does the administration appear to be taking the opposite approach quietly? That's what we'll be watching in the coming days.